I need to relocate a telephone jack in a kitchen. You want to check that out? You want to know how to work that out and do that yourself? Stick around. Now we've got a telephone jack here, right here, and it's kind of unsightly. We've been doing some work in a little kitchen area over here at my aunt's house, and she's decided she wants that underneath this desk. And there's a little area of sheetrock wall underneath the desk, and so I'm going to remove that and I'm going to lower that down and put it into a little cut-in box. And actually it's just a cut-in ring. This is what I'm going to put in the wall down below. See, it's cut out. This is what they generally use for telephone jacks, and sometimes like your cable TV, coaxial cable, stuff like that, they'll put something like that in. You don't have to have it in an electrical cut-in box, you know, for electrical. You can just have it in the back. There's some ears here that flop up behind. See, they push down like that. You cut the hole right in here. This outside ring fits on the wall, and then as you tighten this screw up, this goes up like that. This one goes up like that. Behind the sheetrock, see? Oh, okay. This one's up like that, and then you tighten it. Actually, it's down here. This one looks a little bit different than most cut-ins. And then it folds up like that behind the sheetrock. Okay? And then you tighten it up, see? This gets tight up against the back of the sheetrock. Okay? So if you haven't ever seen those at the hardware store, maybe you're looking in the wrong place. It's usually over by the telephone wiring and cabling. You just have to kind of look. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. Now what does that mean on the wall? Yes, we're going to have to tape that wall and skim it out, and we're going to have to put a little spray texture on there. Enough of that. First things first, let's get this cover removed, and it's just this cover right here. Now it doesn't look that bad, but you got the wire setting there going over to the phone like that, dangling. And tomorrow they're going to be taking this Formica countertop out, putting a granite counter in here, new sink, new faucet, new garbage disposal, new backsplash, and it's going to look all nice. So they want to kind of clean this up and see where that alarm system is. There's the home alarm system, and there's the battery backup, the little box that plugs in there for the power, and it fishes up there. We're relocating that too. The alarm's going to stay there, but the box over there is going to plug in underneath this counter. That's something else I've been working on, but I'm going to start working on this telephone first. That way I can patch the wall, and as the wall's patching, I've already installed a cut-in box underneath here for power. And if you haven't, and I'm going to finish that today, but if you haven't watched that video, you know, you can check that out too on installing a cut-in box, how to install a cut-in box, and that kind of thing. Okay? Stick around. Just going to unplug that. The first thing I got to do is take this cover off, and there's two screws there. You undo those two screws and pull that cover off. Very simple to do. I tried to talk her into leaving this plate up here, but she decided she didn't want that. And you know, we did some patching on the walls in the kitchen and some texturing and painting and stuff. And anytime you do something like that, you might want to look around and see if there's anything else that you might want to change at the same time. This is something that she forgot about, and afterwards she looked at that and stood back and thought, you know what, I don't like that there anymore. I just want the alarm keypad here from now on. And so, because we're in the throes of things, we're going to do it. Okay, so now here's the backing plate, and it's mounted with two screws up here we're just going to undo that. We're going to try to keep this all together, okay? So that's the next step. Just take these screws out of here, this one and that one. Now just be careful with it when you pull it out, because the telephone wires are very small. And if you jerk it or anything, you might pull it off and then think, okay, where does it go on the little attachment on the back of this plate? Okay. Now see, here's some wires of the telephone wire they didn't even use. They only used a couple wires, an orange one and a green one, it looks like. Okay. Like they spliced it together. And they're going down, and that's the way we want it to go down. And we did a little inspection on this earlier on figuring out what we were going to have to do, because if these wires went up, obviously I couldn't pull it down far enough, unless sometimes if the wires are going up, you might be able to still pull them out. And the last telephone installer, he might have bunched up some wires down there that you can take this and gently unravel it and see if you've got it long enough to go down, you know, wherever you want. And in our case, that's what we're doing. We're gonna locate that underneath here, so it's not going to be as well, it's going to be unsightly down there. Okay, so what I have to do is figure out if I want to take that plate off, and really I don't want to take the plate off. I mean, there's some tape on the back side of this, and it's underneath that where they've connected it. Now if I have to remove that, I might be able to do that. I really don't want to. I'm hoping to leave that alone. My cut-in plate here, I was hoping I could take this and maybe tape it and shove it down the wall, and because there's no insulation in this wall, and cut the hole underneath here and run it sideways. And see there, if I run it sideways, I can still slip it right through the cut-in plate like that, and I don't have to undo these wires at all. Okay, so I'm going to put some electrical tape around here and get this all ready. I don't want to shove it down the wall like this, because I could bind on these wires and it might pull apart. Last thing I want is for when I get it back down there, I don't want to plug it back into the telephone and have it not work. If it doesn't work at that point, we'd have to call up the telephone company, get a telephone installer out here, troubleshooter, and have him do that. There might be some costs involved with that. Excuse me. And you know, it's not a life or death situation, but we don't really want to do that. We want to save that money and do it right. I found some masking tape, and I figured I'd use that instead of using up all my electrical tape. I just kind of taped that all together and just made it so the wires aren't going to be flopping all around, okay? I'm just about ready to slip it down there. As you can see, the hole's not big enough to put this down there, is it? I'm going to have to patch this anyway. See, we just recently patched the wall, spray textured the wall and everything. This whole area is going to have to be filled back in with mud and some tape. I think you already know how to do that if you've been watching my channel, haven't you? Okay, so I'm going to end up taking my sheetrock saw and I'm going to cut a little slit in it down at an angle here so that I can gently wedge this through there, okay? But before I do that, I want to look and make sure I'm not going to hit any wires or anything. Now see, here's a wire right there, and that's going down, and that's going down to this alarm system. And I got to be careful when I cut this, I don't nick this wire or something. Now, ultimately, this wire is going to go all the way because we've got the power connected to this alarm system over here on the counter. And I'm going to unscrew that, and I'm going to have to disconnect it, the ends of it, so I can refish that wire. I have to take the alarm apart, fish that wire down next to the desk, and I'm going to plug it into the new plug that I'm going to be installing down here. And I've got a cut-in box that I fished in there and ran the power behind this cabinet, behind the dishwasher, and I'm tying it into a box that was underneath the sink cabinet. If you want to watch that video, I got that on my channel too, you know. But that's how we're going to clean this whole area up. That's going to go away, that plug. This telephone jack's going to go away. And the telephone jack, I'm gonna cut in up above that electrical cut-in box that I installed. Because that way it'll be up underneath the desk. Nobody's going to see it. The only thing it's going to be for is for the telephone. And this little wire, I'm hoping I can sneak through right there. If not, I may have to gouge that out a little bit. Worst case scenario, I might have to drill a hole in here. And the power to this telephone, see where it goes? Boop, 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 boop. Right over there, we're going to take that. And we've got to disconnect it from the phone and fish it down. And we're going to plug that down underneath here too. That's how we're going to clean up everything. But, you know, I just wanted to show you that because I didn't want you to think, well, how come they're doing this anyways? You know, it's just a little unsightly, and because they're doing all this other work, they figured they might as well do this too. Okay, so before I cut that and try to fish it down the wall, I've got to get my cut-in box done, and I'm going to put that underneath the desk, and I'm going to do that right now.